You guys probably know by now, I am a pretty big fan of nothing manacles. When playing Void, scatter grenades are easily my favorite grenade to run because they're the best, and we get 2 of them, which also happen to have enhanced tracking. Most people probably think of vortex grenades as the best, and they are definitely super strong. You could probably even argue they're better, but in order for them to really compete with scatter grenades, at least in my opinion, you need to be running Echo of Remnants and Chaos Accelerant. Scatters also usually deal their damage much quicker, so their DPS tends to be higher, even though both grenades do have a very similar damage output. The previous version of the scatter grenade build I had on the channel was insane. After making the build with the Lightfall mod rework that we got, it was broken, and it honestly surprised me with how effective it actually was. We could throw a grenade and have it almost instantly replenished with all of the energy we got back. But with the mod nerf that came this season, I wanted to kind of update and rework the build a bit because it wasn't as effective anymore. Firepower obviously took a hit with our ability to create orbs of power and how often we could do that. Mods like Bomber were also nerfed, and I think Grenade Kickstart was technically buffed a little bit too. With the newer version of the build that I'm going to be covering today, I think it's pretty much just as effective, maybe a little bit worse, since we don't generate as many orbs and we don't get as much regen through some of the mods. But we do still get grenades every few seconds. We have tons of orbs of power and void breaches. We constantly proc Devour for full health and full shields. We get additional regen for our class ability through Child of the Old Gods, and we constantly have volatile rounds for our void weapons. Not to mention, we do also have 6 sources of grenade regen. We get energy through our Devour kills, Demolitionist kills, orbs of power we collect, armor charges via Grenade Kickstart, energy from Bomber, and then also energy from Child of the Old Gods as it deals damage. You're basically invincible with this build, and I think it's perfect for raids, dungeons, low mans, and underpower content. You could even take this into GMs and it would work. Probably wouldn't be the best build overall, but it's definitely usable. Real quick, before I go over everything, if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to drop a quick like and sub down below. We do also have a Discord if you guys want to stay up to date with all the new videos, live streams, and challenge videos over there. Okay guys, hopping straight into the build. Obviously within your main inventory, you want to have on nothing manacles. These are the exotic we're running and the centerpiece for the build. The main thing we get here are 2 scatter grenade charges. It does also, I think, give better tracking. It says it gives better tracking for the scatter grenade submunitions. The main thing we really care about is just the double grenade charges though. And then after that, you really want to pair this with a good primary weapon or add clear weapon, because every time we get a grenade funnel blow, we get volatile rounds. So funnel web is amazing. And then if you don't want funnel web, some people like Unforgiven better, depending on if you like 720s versus 900s. Plus Unforgiven also has the unique role of demo and frenzy. And then lastly, when it comes to your heavy slots, if you have it free, I recommend going with Commemoration. Obviously use anything for DPS when you're going against the boss, but Commemoration or even Collective Measure are really good for 50 RPM Void LMGs for clearing adds, especially with volatile rounds. This I love because of Repulsor Brace, so we get that 50% damage resistance from the Overshield. You could also use the other half for clearing with volatile rounds as well if you want that for movement. Overall, I think this is the full loadout that I used when doing Duo Flawless Root of Nightmares back when that came out. I would use it for, I think, first encounter, so it's really useful even in low man settings, raid settings, and any end game content, other than probably GMs, where some other builds are going to shine a little bit better. When it comes to the Void subclass setup, you can run whatever super you want. I actually think all 3 are good. Run Vortex for damage, Cataclysm if you just want it for like add clear, dealing with champions so that you can't miss it. The only reason I don't recommend using this for damage is because it obviously will block your teammates' line of sight to a boss. And you can even use Nova Warp for add clear if you really wanted. Healing Rift is really good. It pairs really well with Child of the Old Gods. Even though we have Devour and we don't actually really need the healing, it gives us better ability regen, which I'll cover in a second. After that, you obviously only have Pocket Singularity. This ability is ass, but it's all we have, so I don't even really use this half the time. And then obviously for your grenade, make sure you're running scatter grenades because that pairs with nothing manacles for a lot of burst damage. When it comes to our aspects, first up is Feed the Void. This is more important on the build than ever before. With this equipped, we are getting full health and full shields with Devour anytime we get a final blow. On top of that, obviously, any Void ability we use to get a kill will also be proccing Devour. With the recent Devour nerfs, because I guess Bungie thought it was too strong to have its full effect on all 3 classes, they nerfed it so you're only getting around half your HP back while Devour is active anytime you get a kill. But with Feed the Void active on Warlock, you still get that OG Devour feel because it still gives you full health and full shields as long as this aspect is equipped. And then second to that, we obviously have Child of the Old Gods. I love this aspect. I think it's one of the best in the game. With this, casting our Rift gives us a Void Soul. We can then shoot that to apply it to an enemy or group of enemies. It'll kind of go down and anchor in its position, applying weaken and dealing damage over time to anything in that AoE. When we're on Healing Rift, as that deals damage, we are getting grenade energy and melee energy back per tick of damage that it's dealing. And then on top of all of this, while we're getting kills on things directly attached to the Child of the Old God projectile, that's giving us class ability energy straight back as well. So with this, as Child of the Old Gods does damage, we get grenade and melee energy. And then as we're finishing off and getting kills on enemies inside of its AoE, that gives Rift energy straight back. When it comes to our fragments, we do still have Echo of Starvation. Orbs of Power and Void Breach are going to extend the Devour timer, and then obviously proc Devour as well. So even if we don't have any abilities, we can get like 2 weapon kills, spawn an Orb of Power, or pick up a teammate's Orb of Power, and then get Devour procced just like that. Echo of Instability is great. This is how we're getting volatile rounds. We get them for 10 seconds for all our void weapons. Anytime we get a grenade final blow, there should practically be 0 time that we have in any activity where we're not getting a kill with our grenade within 10 seconds. So you can space out your grenades, spam them, do it however you want. But as long as there's enemies out there to kill, you should pretty much have infinite volatile rounds. Echo of Undermining is something that I think you could swap out with this build if you really wanted to. This gives weaken to our void grenades. That's 15% more damage to scatter grenades and any other grenade, obviously, that you're using. But with scatter grenades, they seem to be super buggy. With Echo of Undermining equipped, when you throw these out and deal damage, they'll get like an extra pretty large chunk of damage at the end, which I'm pretty sure is from Echo of Undermining. So I think it really buffs it by more than 15%. And then finally, I think Echo of Harvest is a super underrated fragment, and it's really good for this build. With this, even though it has like a 5 or 10 second cooldown, anytime we defeat a weakened target, we spawn in an extra Orb of Power and an extra Void Breach. So this is really good for giving us additional ways to proc Devour through picking up those orbs and Void Breaches. Void Breaches also give us additional Rift energy, and then on top of that, we are just getting more orbs, so we can pick those up, proc Devour more, we can get increased grenade energy back, we get more armor charge stacks, and things like that. So that really helps mitigate all the orb generation nerfs that we got this season. On screen right now are all the mods we're running with this updated version of the build. You can pause it, apply them in game yourself, use the dim link as always, or check out the Mobalytics link if you guys want some more build info on the build cycle and other important information. On our helmet, we have Ashes to Assets for increased super energy gains whenever we get grenade final blows. We do have Harmonic Siphon so that we're generating more Orbs of Power with Void Weapon kills. And then we also have Heavy Ammo Finder because I tend to use a primary with this setup with volatile rounds. That just gives us a free way to generate extra heavy ammo. You can easily sub this out for double Ashes to Assets if you guys wanted though. On our gauntlets, we have 1 copy of Firepower. This creates Orbs of Power as we get grenade final blows. 1 copy does not mean this has a 10-second cooldown on its orb creation, which does kind of suck. We do have grenade kickstart so that as we get armor charge stacks through orbs we pick up and then use our grenade, that directly converts those armor charge stacks into grenade energy back right away. And then after that, just for quality of life, I do have on Fastball. The one note I will mention is that you could potentially sub out Firepower for another grenade kickstart. I don't know how much of a difference it will really make. I think it's going to come out pretty much net even. But the main reason for that is we're creating enough Orbs of Power typically on our own through other fragments and through other mods. So I don't know how much the extra orb every 10 seconds through a grenade kill really helps. On my chest piece, I do have 3 copies of damage resistance mods. That being said, at some points in the video, I was running charged up for 4 armor charge stacks just to feed into grenade kickstart a little bit more. I only did this in easier content where I knew I wasn't really going to be getting one shot. If you're taking this against champions or in a GM setting, I highly recommend taking that off and still sticking to your 3DR mods. On our legs, we do have Innervation for 10% grenade energy anytime we collect an Orb of Power. Insulation should be, I think, 5 or maybe up to 7% class ability energy when collecting an Orb of Power. And then we obviously have stacks on stacks for double the armor charge stacks per orb we collect. And then finally, on our class item, we do have Bomber for 12% grenade energy whenever we use our class ability. We have Powerful Attraction so that this collects Orbs of Power nearby when we also use our class ability. And then because we're doing that to pick up orbs and constantly using Child of the Old Gods, we have 1 copy of Reaper so that as we use our Rift, then our next weapon Final Blow creates another Orb of Power. That is it for the build and the video, guys. Let me know if you prefer Scatter Nades and Nothing Manacles or Vortex Grenades and Controverse Hold down below. Also, with the longer season and the mod changes, I did want to go through and rework a lot of the older builds I made this season that might be pretty different now. So let me know if that's something you'd like to see. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.